It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hanson, Scotty G, coming up noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan Southdown next Tuesday, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Tim Daly, home of the Forever Warranty. It's time to talk a little Utes with Bartle. Hit it.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Happy Friday, Steve. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing terrific, Steve. This is an okay Kansas State team. Certainly not been, the team that I think a lot of people expected them to be, but they're 5-5. They're dangerous. I kind of laid out in the first segment of our show, if everything went wrong, I could see Utah losing this game. I don't predict that, though. How are you viewing this Kansas State team?
Yeah, I think their record at 5-5 sort of perfectly illustrates what kind of team this is. They can beat just about anybody in the league, and then they can also lose to just about anybody in the league. And I think it's been kind of an up and down roller coaster ride. And, you talked about the expectations coming into the season for Kansas State, and they were pretty high. I don't know that they weren't as unanimously picked as, a favorite to win the Big 12 this season like they were the previous year. But I think everybody sort of viewed Kansas State as, a top 5 contender in the Big 12 this season. And, from the start of the season, going out to Ireland and playing Iowa State in, that rivalry game to start the season, taking that loss, I just think set Kansas State off on a really bad note, and they struggled through the first part of the season, and then they started to figure some things out. But it's just been inconsistencies and turnovers, and I think it's been a number of different things that have gone wrong for Kansas State throughout the season. It's not like they're just particularly bad at any one thing, like you can point to with other programs. But it's just been, a combination of different things. And I think, Avery Johnson, you look at his numbers this season compared to last year and you see improvement, but it's just not translating, into the win-loss column this season. So with a quarterback like Avery Johnson and his dual threat ability, that's going to make Kansas State, tough in most games. But, they're starting to deal with injuries. They just lost their top receiver, Jace Brown, in that Oklahoma State game. It sounds like he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. And that's a big loss. He was their big play guy, big play threat, and so they're going to be searching for answers in the passing game. But he was the guy for Avery Johnson. And so that sort of element where you're starting to see some attrition cost Kansas State. I think Utah coming into this pretty healthy and humming on all cylinders right now offensively. You feel good about Utah's ability to not only get the win, but get another comfortable win, just kind of given where the two programs are at right now.
How healthy is Dampier?
He's dealing with things, right? When you're a dual threat quarterback and you run as much as he does and you're taking hits, there's bumps and bruises. I don't have a percentage on how good he's feeling, but he's had the mindset that as long as I'm able to get out there and perform at a level that keeps us competitive in games, that he's going to be out there. And I think that's a mindset that I think should still be appreciated. But he's certainly dealing with some things that are impacting his ability to perform at his highest level. What we saw from him in that Arizona State game coming off of that first bye week where you saw that dynamic athleticism that he was known for last season. We finally saw what that looked like, right? He was so elusive. He was so explosive. And he's just been dealing with things that have limited him in that capacity. And so, you're getting to the end of the season and all the hits have taken their toll, but he's going to continue to go out there and perform. I think he's in a better place this week than he was last week. I'll say that much.
With the amount of Bird Ficklin we have seen in recent weeks, is that to manage the health of Devin Dampier, or is that potentially keeping an eye on what the future of this program might look like as soon as next season?
Yeah, a bit of both, right? I think with Dampier being limited, in terms of his health, it's great to have another dual threat quarterback like Bird Ficklin who can take on some of those rushing responsibilities. And with the way that he's performed, it also gives you a look at what the future could be. And so it's really helped Utah to get a sense of, Ficklin and where he's at in his development. Obviously, this is year one. And I remember last year, when he was being recruited, he was committed to Texas State, and Utah was really his only power conference offer. And going into the month of December, it was really Utah. But that final week going into his decision in the month of December, which came right around, the early signing period, Oklahoma, Ole Miss started to make contact with him, started to reach out. And for Utah, there was a lot of excitement when he committed because, you started to see those other programs reach out to him and communicate with him. And it felt like a big win at the time. And I remember talking to certain folks, and there was a lot of excitement and optimism about what Ficklin could be as a quarterback. So, they were, I believe, the only program that offered him as a true quarterback. Most other programs were recruiting him as an athlete, preferably an athlete on the defensive side of the floor of the field. And so now you're getting these opportunities to see him in action this season, and I think it's only helped their optimism and view of him as a potential signal caller at the helm for this offense. So, he fits great in Beck's offense given the dual threat ability, and I think he's provided a lot of really exciting moments, really exciting flashes in terms of just his raw physical athletic ability. There's still a long way for him to go in terms of, the mental side of the game, having a greater command of the offense and what the offense is doing, learning what the opposing defenses are going to be doing and some of the different coverages that he'll have to be more mindful of, at this level. And that's just a process. And so I think it's been sort of the ideal situation for Utah this season with how they've been able to get Ficklin opportunities late in these games. And then to get him that start against Colorado, I think it's been really beneficial. But, to this point now in the season, it's to take some of the pounding off of Devin, but then you're also getting a better idea of what Bird is as a quarterback.
Steve, we've obviously played Kyle Whittingham's comments when he was asked about will this be his last game in Rice-Eccles Stadium, and I want to ask you, really, it's a two-part question. One, do you think he's already made up his mind one way or another, and is just kind of not confirming doesn't want to be a distraction, like Ben was saying earlier, doesn't want like a Kobe Bryant send-off kind of thing? It's not really his style. So has he already made up his mind? And if he has not, what do you think his criteria for the decision are?
Yeah, I think that's obviously the hot topic with Kyle Whittingham, right? Where is he truly at? And I think, I do think just sort of reading the tea leaves and having the conversations that I do, I think there is a bit of still not truly knowing what he wants to do that I think is present there with Whittingham and where he's at. I think he sees an opportunity. I think he's focused primarily on this team and what they're trying to do, and I think that's the mindset that he's and the things that he's saying all sort of point to that he wants this team to take care of business this season, to not worry about him, and for him to not become a distraction bigger than, what it already is, because we know where Kyle is at in his career. And, it's already a pretty prominent part of this season in terms of the topics and what we're talking about. But I do think Kyle, wants to keep the focus on his team, on his guys. And that's, when he said, I'll be here one day and gone the next, that is how Kyle Whittingham, is going to leave the game. Like, if that is, Kyle, right? Like, that's him. That's what he embodies. That sort of exit is what you think of when you think of how Kyle would leave the game, right? So I think there is still a possibility for him to return, but I'm not sure he's made a full decision just yet. And I'm sure once they, get to the end of the season and he's able to sit down and really kind of decompress over things, like, that's when we'll see that decision. But I think, I lean towards this being it for him this season. But, Kyle has shown us that, I thought that last year as well, and he came back. So, with the team he's got this year, there's a real possibility that they can bring back a good core next year and add some better pieces in the portal this offseason. And, another potential run, at another title is, it's always going to be enticing for a head coach as competitive as Kyle Whittingham.
Sorry to bounce back to quarterbacks. Do you think Utah has to pick between one of the two this offseason? If they pick one, do they lose the other?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a difficult decision. I do think, there's a real possibility that they will have to choose one or the other. Obviously, what we heard from Kyle today is they hope that both return. But we know that the quarterback position being what it is, that, as fun as it's been to see Utah utilize both Dampier and Ficklin on the field at the same time, that's just not a sustainable, form of attack, on offense, is having two quarterbacks out there for the majority of your reps. And I think, for Utah, they may very well have to make a decision, and make a decision soon, on who that guy is going to be to lead them, going into 2026. And that's a difficult debate of who do you go with, right? Both quarterbacks have qualities and things about them that make them attractive, right? With Devin Dampier being the elder statesman going into his senior year next year, having the command of the offense that he does, the chemistry and with Coach Beck, and Coach Beck understanding his strengths and weaknesses, with 2 full years of work together. Then you've got Bird, who, he's flashed these tremendous qualities and abilities, but still being inexperienced, that's a big thing. And it's interesting, given the opponent this week with Kansas State, they were in a situation very similar to Utah right now, and a couple years ago when they had Will Howard and Avery Johnson as a true freshman. And, Will Howard eventually left Manhattan, ended up at Ohio State, and things worked out great for him. Kansas State went with the freshman, and I think, there was a lot of hype for Avery, given what he sort of similarly, the flashes that he showed as a freshman. You look at his freshman numbers, and kind of similar to Ficklin right now, I think he finished with 400-something yards passing, had a couple of big plays in their Pop-Tart Bowl win, when he was a freshman, and I think that generated a lot of excitement and hype around him. But then, his first year as a starter last year, he struggled. And I think that is something to keep in mind, that, for as exciting as these moments are with Ficklin, it's just a different situation when you are the guy and defenses can prepare for you all week knowing you're the guy. And so this is going to be the conversations that Utah might have to have if they aren't able to bring both back. But, the kind of the unique factor here with the two is their friendship and their camaraderie. They have a really strong relationship. They've talked about it a lot the last couple of weeks and how much each other means to one another. And I think that could be kind of a unique factor in all this. But yeah, I think there's a really strong possibility that Utah may have to pick one or the other.
Now, I was surprised when Ben earlier called Cal Poly a Tier 1 team. I don't know where or a Tier 1 loss. I don't know where. Quad 1, yeah. I don't know quite where he's getting that. But I'm guessing you don't think the Cal Poly loss is a good sign for the basketball program.
Listen, man, Luka Tarlock coming off the bench for Cal Poly, that's a good squad. No, I'm just, that was not a great loss for Utah last night. And, it was a reminder of just where this program is at, right? This is a true tear it down to the studs rebuild. And with Alex Jensen, he's talked about it all off season that, he's come into this with a long-term approach and vision. And, where they are right now is not where they're going to be at the end of the season. He wants to continue to focus on improvement, focus on the process, developing habits. And, right now, Utah does not have those habits in place, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot of, moments and stretches of really exciting offensive play. I think they've got some guys that can do some things that Utah hasn't had in quite some time. Speaking to Terrence Brown and Don McHenry, who can do things off the dribble that Utah has really had at the guard spot for quite some time. They've got a guy in Keanu Dawes who he has so much potential as a player, given his size, his athleticism. He's fairly comfortable with the ball in his hands, but he just sort of lacks the mindset and the aggressiveness. And so if that is something that can be developed over time, I think that would be really beneficial for Utah. But this is going to be a long road for Utah. I do think they will make improvements. I think we'll see, better buy-in, particularly on the defensive side of the floor. They're going to have to in order to have any sort of shot at, getting a win over these next few weeks, because, the competition is only going to improve. And, this team has potential, but they've got to commit to better habits on the defensive end of the floor.
Steve, I don't know. I don't want to tell Maddie, how to do her job, but we need to be properly staffed tomorrow. We've got to have somebody on Avery Johnson's dad the whole game. If he punches his nephew or something, we got to have the video. We got to have the story. All right. So, just a suggestion.
I'm glad you reminded me of that. We will definitely keep an eye, on the purple section there for Kansas State. But I think there's a lot of excitement. I was talking with Mitch Fortner of KMAN radio out there in Kansas, and he talked about Kansas State fans looking forward to traveling out to Salt Lake City and getting their first stop at Rice-Eccles Stadium. I think there should be a pretty good contingent of Kansas State fans, and like you mentioned, that first game against Iowa State, there could be some crazy things that happen apparently with Johnson and the Kansas State fan base. So looking forward to that tomorrow.
Thank you, Steve. We'll be following all your coverage. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good
Steve.
one.
That's the one and only Steve Bartle, covers the Utes for KSLSports.com, does a terrific job.
You're talking about running a QB spy, but
On
not
Avery-
on the field, in line of action without actually the quarterback, his father.
We need to have Chandler following around
Okay.
Avery Johnson's dad the whole time. 'cause
Chandler's tall. The problem with Chandler is he's a little unique looking. I do the Jazz Notes podcast. He's a writer at KSLSports.com with Chandler. He's deceptively like 6'4". So he's going to stand out.
Yeah.
We need Mr. Brigham City over here.
Oh, really?
We need, yeah.
I was going to say, when it comes to stalking people, we probably should go to the
Christian's been arrested several times for stalking, so he knows how to do it.
I was thinking this was right up Lloyd's alley,
Okay.
but you're going Christian, huh?
Yeah. If you've been arrested a lot of times for stalking because you've done it for so long, does that mean you're good at it or bad at it?
Probably
Bad.
both.
You've done it a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, Christian, you've done it more than I've ever stalked anyone.
Yeah,
you
there's
you keep
intricacies
getting
for
caught.
sure. Yeah.
But you know more tricks than I do. I know zero tricks.
This is an interesting bit for you to buy in on, Christian. Congratulations.
Buy in on what?
It's kind of a strange cell phone, I guess. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Chad Brendel. He owns and operates BearcatJournal.com.
I'm excited to talk to Chad again. We talked to him before the
he's
Utah
good.
game. I want to know if the Utah, and I'm going to ask him this, did the Cincinnati team we saw against Utah reflect who Cincinnati actually is.
We'll get to it coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a huge Big 12 battle for the Cougars as they head to Cincinnati for a showdown against the Bearcats. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Big one this weekend going down in Cincinnati. Let's talk about it. He makes the magic happen at bearcatjournal.com. We welcome him back to the show. He is Chad Brendel. What's going on, Chad?
Hey, Chad.
Not much, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. I wanted to ask you this because we're looking at BYU, who's on a roll clearly, going in and facing Cincinnati. Is this Cincinnati team better than the one we saw play in Salt Lake City against Utah, or do you think that's an accurate portrayal of who they are?
Definitely better. They've done a really good job with the transfer portal, added a lot of, significant pieces that upgraded the roster from a year ago. So, I think, pretty much across the board, offense and defense, they've got a better roster this year than they had the last time these two teams played.
Cincinnati's healthier going into this week, right?
Yes, the injury report is probably as full as it's been all season, but it seems like most of those guys are going to play. A lot of probables, guys that just as you get to week 12, you're going to have some bumps and bruises, but
the running back's back, right, though? As opposed to winning Utah?
Be back.
Yeah, okay.
Evan Pryor should be back. That'll, come down to, how the ankle feels on Saturday. But two young weapons on offense probably not going to play in Isaiah Johnson and then the running back that, kind of filled in for Pryor. He got a little dinged up, so. But for the most part, with Evan Pryor, and it looks like Caleb Goody, the deep threat outside, back in the roster, they should be pretty close to their full complement of weapons.
I think Brendan Sorsby over his last two games is 26 of 61 and has far more turnovers than touchdowns thrown, 2 to 3, I guess, not far more. But this was not the same player we saw for the first, 9 weeks of the season, 8 weeks of the season. What has changed for him?
They played 2 top 6 passing defenses. That'll do it. And they've played teams with an aggressive style, which kind of fits BYU. I don't know that just straight up man-to-man coverage that BYU presents, the same challenges that Utah and Arizona did. But that's what they were able to do that gave Cincinnati fits. They were able to just isolate and say, we're playing man-to-man. And if your guys can beat our guys, fine. Cincinnati's guys weren't able to beat their guys. And a lot of, really tough contested catches forced in the last couple weeks that Cincinnati hasn't been able to make the play. So that's going to be the challenge for this offense. BYU is going to challenge you. They're going to be aggressive. I don't think BYU plays as much man as Utah and Arizona, but they still play, a good amount. It'll be a matter of can his guys get open and can they hang on to the football if there's a tight window throw and a contest at the catch.
Ben and I kind of like to do the exercise sometimes, if this team wins, it'll be because this happens. And we were talking a little bit about if Cincinnati wins. And my thought was they score 30 points and BYU has a tough time keeping up. So I'll relay that question to you. If Cincinnati wins, it's because of why?
I think you're right on the money. I think the big thing, though, is I think Cincinnati's going to have to get out early. BYU wants to lean on you. They want to punish you with the running game. That gets a little bit harder to do if you've got a 10, 14-point lead. And I think, we saw with Utah, Utah was able to get up a little bit early and then kind of lean on Cincinnati's defense. Cincinnati's defense will give up yards, and you can move the ball between the 20s. a lot more stingy in the red zone than they are, in the open field. But that allows BYU to control clock. It allows BYU to kind of keep Cincinnati's offense off the field. So, that was, I thought, the key a couple weeks ago against Utah. I think it's the key against BYU as well. If you let BYU get up 7-10 points, I think it becomes much, much more difficult for Cincinnati to win. And, as a result, as Cincinnati's able to get up early, I mean, we saw it with Iowa State. We saw it with Arizona. BYU's got the ability to come back and keep that pressure on you. So I do think that's been the winning formula for Cincinnati. When they've been able to hit 30-plus, they've been really successful. The teams that have been able to keep that offense off the field and keep the score down have been able to give Cincinnati a lot of trouble.
Cincinnati, a tough place to play?
Oh, yeah. Especially, look, during the rise of Cincinnati's program, Brian Kelly, Luke Fickell, the night games at Nippert Stadium have been epic. And I think you're going to get that environment again. Saturday night, 8 o'clock. They haven't had really a true conference night game at home since they joined the Big 12. So this fan base has been desperately waiting. The joke over the past two and plus years, Nip at night has turned into Nip at noon. It's not quite the same environment. And I think everybody's really excited to get a night game at Nippert, especially one that's got the type of magnitude that this one does.
Interesting that the other good teams in the league are all cheering for Cincinnati this weekend because if the Bearcats win, it throws the entire conference into disarray. Have you read through the wild tie-breaking scenarios in the Big 12? I have no idea who's even in the front runner if Cincinnati wins.
Yeah, that's the hard part. One, I mean, you have to. I think we'll have maybe a better idea after the games this weekend. Like if Cincinnati does win and we've got that group of teams with 2 losses, I think it should be more clear going into the final week. But I looked at it and went, I'm not doing that math.
Yeah,
I'm not,
right.
I'm not sitting down to figure that out right now. I don't have that type of time. I got a basketball game against number 6 Louisville tonight that we have to cover. Like, I don't have the extra hours to figure out these crazy tie-break scenarios.
It's wild.
What does Cincinnati, I mean, again, technically their hopes are still alive. What does Cincinnati feel like they're playing for the rest of the year?
I mean, you want to get one of the main things is look at Arizona State last year. They were in a very similar situation to Cincinnati. They had those 2 conference losses. Everybody had kind of written them off. And, if Cincinnati finishes this thing at 7-2 in the conference, it's going to include a win over BYU. That's a huge feather in the cap of your resume when you're getting into these multi-team tiebreakers. So that would be, one of the biggest feathers in their cap if they can get this thing done this weekend. So you've got to keep hope alive. And with these large power conferences now, with unbalanced schedules, if you can just keep your chips on the table until the end, it's hard telling how these things get decided, who ends up on top, who doesn't. I have a hard time seeing Texas Tech losing a game to fall back into that group. So you got to put your best foot forward, and the only way they can do that, the only way they can stay alive, is to beat BYU. So they've got a lot of chips still on the table right now.
Chad, we appreciate you and all of your fine work. Enjoy the game.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a safe trip if you're coming.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you. That's Chad Brendel, owner and operator of BearcatJournal.com.
Well, I'm excited to see what it's like to play at Cincinnati. Utah did not have a hard time with Cincinnati when they came here. They did not travel particularly well, and then they didn't look good against Arizona. So we will see if, is this a team that is far better than what they've shown the last 2 weeks, and as a result, they're going to break out and they're going to bounce back and really give BYU a challenge? That does happen. Absolutely that happens, and maybe I'm discounting Cincinnati too much.
All right, stay tuned. We wrap up the show. We wrap up the week next. Jake and Ben, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. The Aggies head to California for a chance to get bowl eligible against Fresno State. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Let's lock in.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on their ways, talking sports. They got it made, Jake's and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up another busy week. Ben, I have a couple of rapid-fire stories for you real quick here.
Okay.
One, according to Yahoo Sports, Charlotte star guard LaMelo Ball has grown increasingly frustrated with the organization and is open to a trade from the franchise, multiple league sources told Yahoo.
I bet they said, same. Yeah, us too, pal. For 4 straight years now.
Lloyd, is your mom still living in with you guys? Ben, have you ever had a family member live with you, like a uncle or a
Not
parent
older, but
or
sibling,
whatever?
yeah.
Christian, you ever had that situation?
Yeah.
I just bring it up because you imagine if you have a family member move in, like totally make the house over in that person's image. Hang around all day watching TV, doing whatever it is they want, and then comes to you and goes, I'm currently unhappy with these accommodations.
This is untenable. Yeah, this is untenable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that family member is like, you know what, this isn't working for me?
They would be selling low on LaMelo. First of all, over his last 3 seasons, he's played 36, 22, 47 games.
And has barely played this year.
He's played 9 games this year. He is averaging 21 points, 9.6 assists, 6.9 rebounds. The raw numbers are okay. The issue is he's shooting 38% from the floor and 29% from 3. And he needs 1,000 shots to get his point.
He stinks and dribbles the ball the whole game.
Yeah,
and,
he is.
And they let him do it. And then he comes and he goes, I'm not happy. I want to be traded. Do you?
He's 24. Somebody would bite. But, man, it's pretty rough.
No,
it's
Charlotte
rough
shouldn't
situation.
trade him. Charlotte should Raja Bell him.
Go home.
Just send him home.
You know what I could honestly see? A LaMelo flip. Which is just our problem is now your problem and vice versa. Let's see if a change of scenery is good for both of these guys.
Okay.
I could see that.
All right, then my other story for you real quick. And this, I don't know if this is quite bozo of the week level, but still.
I think LaMelo just won it.
LaMelo could have. Yeah. LaMelo could have. So did you see that Cam Newton talked about the Patriots and Drake Maye and said they're like empty calories or something?
Okay.
He expressed an opinion on television about the Patriots.
Because he's on First Take.
That was not favorable. Well, this will be relevant momentarily, the first take of it all. So then Drake Maye, whose actual childhood hero was Cam Newton, which is kind of funny, but not really relevant. But of course, somebody runs to Drake Maye and wants to get a comment on what Cam Newton said, which I actually think is really stupid. You know what I mean? If Drake Maye wants to comment on Cam Newton, he can. But why does there have to be the middle reporter? Did you hear? It's so kindergartenish. Did you hear what Ben said? Anyway, so this is what Drake Maye said. Here's his quote. I don't even know what show he's on. I think they get paid to make remarks and make a certain comments. So I just worry about what people in our organization think and worry about what we think and what my teammates think. People are going to have different opinions. I'm just going out there on Sunday and worrying about ourselves. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith was outraged. And actually called Drake Maye a liar.
Oh.
A liar. Said, quote, Drake Maye is a liar. First Take is the #1 morning show. Don't tell me you, an athlete, and you don't know that. Don't tell me you, an athlete, and you don't know that Cam Newton is on the show. You lying.
I fully believe he had no idea he was on the show.
It doesn't matter.
Most people don't know he's on First Take.
It doesn't matter. Drake Maye is just taking a shot at Cam Newton saying, I don't know what show he's on. He's just trying to downplay the relevance of Cam Newton. It does not matter. And Stephen A. Smith takes it as a personal affront of, don't you know who I am?
You know the lineup.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
I'm the great Stephen A. Smith, and I have Cam Newton on my show. That's what outraged you? Outraged. You called the man a liar. Because he had a subtle dig. It's like somebody who insults you on Twitter and you go, well, you and your 4 followers got that insult. You know, it's the...
Yep.
It doesn't matter if he knows what the show is. He's just trying to say Cam Newton's opinion doesn't matter to me because he's not relevant.
Do we need to give the New England Patriots more respect?
Well, they're pretty good. I think that Vrabel can coach.
They're 9-2, and they've won, 7 in a row? Because they started the season 1-2, and it seemed like, uh-oh. Is this just a disaster? And they've been nothing like that since.
Do I think that Vrabel is a better coach than an adult novelty heiress? Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
That was good.
And better at developing quarterbacks.
Better than Gerard Mayo?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. No, I think he did a good job at a terrible organization in Tennessee, and that the Patriots were really smart to snap him up. And he can sell New England, and he can try to implement some of the stuff that used to work.
Yeah. No, they've done a great job. Drake May's good. I know they've gotten criticized for some of their draft picks. The guys are working out. So they've found a way to they are so similar to the Broncos. It's really funny. It's just one of these teams that is consistently pretty healthy.
That nobody believes in.
That nobody believes in because their young quarterbacks are actually garbage. But we'll see. Who's less garbage, Drake May or Bo Picks?
Drake May is really good. I like him a lot, actually.
Yeah. Bo Picks, though, you hate Bo Picks.
You take May over throw picks?
If I were unbiased building a team now, yeah, I'd take Drake May.
Is Lloyd
throw
in
picks
there?
has the week off?
Would Lloyd rather have Geno Smith or Bo Nix? It was a joke.
He went into a catatonic state.
Lloyd's answer is Jay Schrader.
Geno Smith, because I know I can get rid of him after this year.
Okay.
I just like that Geno.
You're stuck with Bo.
Geno, did you see the other day that he decided to take the blame for anything? Like, if you're having a bad day, blame me. If you got a speeding ticket, you can go ahead and pin that on me.
At least he owns up to it.
I agree. Hey, if something doesn't go my way today, I'll blame Geno. I got no problem with that.
Geno Shador this weekend, is that the matchup? Is Geno still starting or has Geno been benched? Geno's still starting.
Geno's the guy.
Geno Shador. What a matchup. Wow.
Do we get that on? That's the 2:00 game on CBS. I wonder which one we get.
I hope we get it. I would watch that.
Do you Browns Raiders? You hope you get.
I would watch Shador. I want to see Shador play.
Let's see.
There's going to be a lot of hate watching this weekend.
The other option on CBS is Jags Cardinals. So
Jags are okay. Cardinals are not.
Did you see last week Jacoby Brissett set the record for most completions in a game? He threw 47 completions.
Oh, I did not see that. He's again. It's this point of these backup quarter. It's Miles, who's the guy, or not Miles, who's the Davis that's at playing for the Houston's last night. Davis Mills. Like, it's a backup quarterback. He's really good. So, these backup quarterbacks. The league is talented. You got to be careful reaching for guys in the first round.
Man, it's impossible now that David James doesn't tweet it out to find out which games we get.
Yeah. Well. I don't think he has that control anymore.
I know.
He's not pushing the buttons anymore.
No, because now he's over here. He can't pick the NBC game. That's pretty.
He's going to pick NBA games. He's going to pick MLB games now going forward. Now that we got MLB. He's going to handpick the home run derby contestants.
So send your angry emails to D.
David
James,
James
at 1280.
David DJ James on Twitter.
Hanson, Scotty G are coming up next. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Christian.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.